Thank you for joining us for the Henry Ford College Board of Trustees meeting, December 13th, 2021. It's 7:05. I'll call this meeting to order. Could I get a roll call, please?
Yeah, Trustee Hassan Berry.
Here, work-related, I'm in Hollywood, Florida.
Trustee Patrick D'Ambrosio.
Here.
Trustee Roxanne McDonald.
Here.
Trustee Adam Mosip here. Trustee Mary Petlishkoff.
Here.
Trustee Irene Watts.
Here.
Chair James Thorpe.
Here. Next item, please.
Approval of minutes. Approval of the following minutes of the Board of Trustees Policy Committee meeting, November 15th, 2021. Regular meeting, November 15th, 2021. Special meeting, December 7th, 2021. And closed session, December 7th, 2021. Make any necessary corrections and move approval of these minutes.
So moved.
Support.
All right, we had a motion by Trustee McDonald, support by Trustee D'Ambrosio. Any corrections needed? All right, seeing none, could I have a roll call vote, please?
Yeah, Trustee Berry.
Yes,
Trustee D'Ambrosio.
Yes.
Trustee McDonald.
Yes.
Trustee Muzzup, yes. Trustee Petlishkoff.
Yes.
Trustee Watts.
Yes.
Chair Thorpe.
Yes, thank you. Motion carries. Next item.
Recognition and acknowledgements.
Thank you, President Cavaluna, Chair Thorpe, and members of the board. My name is Hannah Daniel. I live in Dearborn, where I was homeschooled. I graduated from high school in 2017 and started at HFC in the winter 2018 semester. I'm studying studio art, and I am a member of the honors program. I will complete my coursework at HFC at the end of the winter 2022 semester, and I will be graduating in spring with my associates in studio art. Now I am pleased to announce read this month's HFC board acknowledgements. Congratulations to Dr. Ruth Haller. Ruth successfully defended her dissertation, Spiritual Maternity and Religious Identity in Early Modern England, to complete her PhD in English from the Wayne State University. Congratulations to following nursing students who are awarded scholarships from the National Arab American Nurses Association: Ragda Al-Husani, Ada Al-Nasiri, Miriam Madrouche, who is an HFC EMU collaborative. The students were honored at the annual NAANA Angel of Mercy dinner in October. Congratulations to men's basketball player Gary Solomon for being named Eastern Conference Player of the Week for the week ending in November 20. The sophomore guard scored 59 points, 21 rebounds, 9 assists, and 1 steal in 2 games for the Hawks. The Hawks have moved up to 13 in the NJCAA Division II men's basketball poll for the week beginning December 6th. This marks the 3rd straight week the men's basketball team has received a national ranking. Congratulations for the team. Thank you for the opportunity to be this month's reader. Are there any questions I can answer for anyone?
Ms. Daniel, we just met. My name's Russ. I want to say thank you for being here and making what is a really effective presentation. I'll just say, maybe broadcast journalism, maybe your second after studio art. I just want to ask, completely beyond your control, your time here at Henry Ford College has been one of the most unique higher ed times for people going to college. What have you experienced here during 2018, which was probably an interesting thing to start at HFC, and then so much was different over the last several terms. How are you doing? What have you learned about how you like to learn? What's working? What's not working?
I definitely missed the days when we were fully on campus. I feel like I had it easier than a lot of students. Being homeschooled, I'm used to being at home, working at home in that kind of environment. It has been a hard time just with all the family is also home, so that has kind of shifted my focus. Everyone's at home making noise. Yeah, and I like that we're slowly, able to get back on campus, and I can't wait to fully be back next semester.
Okay. How have you found the honors program? Has that been something that's been valuable and useful?
I've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed it a lot. My favorite part was the directed study I was able to do. The professor I worked with was really great, and I really enjoyed everything I was able to do.
Who was that instructor? And tell me about your
Karen
directed
Larson
study.
Volts. She does the photography.
Say that name again. I'm sorry.
Karen Larson Volts.
Okay.
Yeah. She was really great. I had her photography class, and so I was able to work with her again, doing some different type of printing processes, and it was really great. I enjoyed it a lot.
Well, good. Were you doing a photography project for your honors
Yeah, what I did, it was called Anthotypes, and so it's an organic printing process made with like organic materials. So you're basically, I use spinach and turmeric and then sunlight to make prints of leaves and stuff like that. It was really cool. We worked with photo negatives a little bit, so it was a lot of fun.
Okay. Well, I was going to ask if you might want to take pictures of the Board of Trustees. We take a picture every year together. But I don't know how that would work with organic materials.
Right. I could print it as a photo negative and then work it that way.
All right.
It could work.
All right. Well,
It would be different for a change.
yeah. Well, Ms. Daniel, I appreciate you trusting Henry Ford College with your education, and we're proud to have you here. I don't know if any of my colleagues have any questions.
Trustee McDonald.
Miss Daniel, I am thrilled that you're taking art. I'm a huge supporter of the arts. I often hear, though, that there's not much you can do, make a career out of those type of degrees and programs. So I'm wondering, what are your plans for in the future? How do you plan on using what you've already learned? And do you plan on using that as the platform to your career, or do you have other aspirations?
Yeah, so there's a lot that you can do with art. A lot of things that you don't realize play into art do. And everything from product design, the water bottle sitting in front of you, somebody had to design them, right? So lots of things do that. Me personally, I wanted to go more into either. At first, I wanted to do storyboarding, which is a lot to do with like shows and movies, stuff like that. But lately, I've considered maybe going more the art therapy route. One of my first art teachers, she actually left to start doing music therapy, and hearing about what she did was really interesting. So I thought maybe I'd like to do that with art. So.
Wonderful, thank you.
Trustee Watts.
So going back to the art therapy, can you tell me more about what that entails?
So I guess it depends fully on what you need to do, and I need to research it more myself. But a lot of it is working with people who may be like older patients. I know there's a lot of Alzheimer's dementia patients who've been able to work through art, and same with music, and kind of regain some of like their pastime, stuff like that, and it's just helped them with the situation that they're in, stuff like that. It can also be used for like children and stuff, a way for them to express themselves creatively and stuff like that. So.
And what is your favorite art material to use?
So I like ink pens. I do a lot of portraits with like stippling, so it's all just dots, and that's probably my favorite. Other than that, I'd say probably charcoal.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Where can we see some of your work?
I have, let me try to think. I know I have a photography portfolio website. There are going to be 2 of the Anthotype prints in the new honors area that they're working on. I gave a Dr. H 2 prints, so those will be up there eventually.
Wonderful,
Yeah.
thank you.
Trustee Moses.
I have a question. Have you heard of NFTs?
Hmm.
Are you designing some?
I honestly don't really understand them too much right now.
NFTs.
Non-fungible tokens.
So those are digital art, and it's actually now huge. Some people actually are making millions out of those. So artists that are being able to create some individual tokens, that's what they call them, and then they put them on the market, and somebody buys them with Ethereum and Bitcoin. So I would highly advise you to look into it. It's a nice kick. My son started looking at it, so I hope to become rich as well.
I hate to say this, Trustee Moses, but not everybody is into the arts just for a monetary.
Absolutely, but I'm saying, with the
Please
revenue.
don't try to
plus.
dissuade her from something she's
Somebody
enjoying
told me to
because
buy
it's got money
Bitcoin 3
attached
years
to
ago.
it.
Any additional questions for Ms. Daniel? Thank you very much for being with us tonight. You are not forced to stay through this whole thing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item, please.
Next item is President's items.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. I have to say that my intention, as recently as 4 days ago, was to have the most brief President's items that I've ever delivered to you all. And I was actually looking forward to that because it was an attempt to get out of the way so I could give the spotlight to several of my colleagues who are going to be making a presentation to you all about strategic planning, which I'm extraordinarily excited about and very, very proud of my teammates. But I can't do that extraordinarily short presentation today because in the last just several days, several things have happened that I need to address, and it is not, the majority of which is not something that I want to do, but it is important that we do it. And the first couple things I want to address they're difficult, but difficult things in this world often are best handled when addressed and handled and discussed. And there really is no more difficult thing to deal with than when one of our teammates has passed away. And I have the very unfortunate duty to acknowledge that that is what has happened over this past weekend. We had our teammate, Tamika Hister, passed away over the weekend. And in a moment, I'll ask for a moment of silence. But before I do that, I do want to note a few things. One, we will be having a vigil for Ms. Hister on campus on Friday. And Vice President DeLong will be working with the president of Ms. Hister's collective bargaining unit, President Windlass, to identify the logistics of that vigil. I will be in attendance, and I welcome and encourage all of our teammates at Henry Ford College to take part in that. I also want to say that I've been very, very thankful for the leadership and advocacy that President Windlass has delivered for Ms. Hister. And President Windlass, I see you there, and I'm committed as the leader of this college to help you as your unit grieves for this loss. And my office will help you and your colleagues grieve this loss. And before I move on to the next thing, I think we as a culture do a moment of silence, but I want to say why we do that. And we want to honor and give solemnity to a life that is no longer here and a life that was our teammates. And so when you do take a minute to slow your thoughts and think, please do move your thoughts to those that are suffering as a result of Ms. Hister's passing. And I'll do that with you now. Thank you for your help with that. The second item is also difficult, not nearly as difficult as losing a teammate, but in the same realm. We have been shaken and concerned and scared by what we now know was a mass shooting at a high school in our state. And I bring this up now because I have been asked by several of you, all my teammates, and at least one of you, my colleagues on the board, about whether and if that has some effect on how we operate as a college. And I want to report a little bit of history we have here at the college and some things that we're going to be talking about going forward, both as colleagues and teammates at the college and a supervising board of elected trustees. You may recall we did evaluate this question of campus safety levels and the ways and opportunities to respond to violent attacks on our campus. We did a thorough analysis of a group of cross-functional and representatives across our campus in 2019, and it was a very, very good report that we publicly displayed, and it gave us some options. You may recall that was right around the beginning of 2020 when we thought through that, and we probably would have made some decisions, difficult but appropriate decisions, about whether to change or keep the way we evaluate this question. But as has been so difficult to acknowledge for now almost 2 years, events have changed just anything that we've expected, and the pandemic's onset made almost everyone on the campus leave our campuses, which set off the necessity to answer the question of campus safety, at least for a time. But again, we get hit by something that makes us wonder if we are prepared enough or if we should change enough, and Oxford was one of those things. So I have, and I will continue to circulate the 2019 report that analyzes this. I have been requested to evaluate the security of certain areas in our campus, campuses, particularly classrooms, and we're conducting that audit now. And much of the way that we interact as colleagues in the college, between the president's office and you all and from the board, is through collective bargaining, and that's worked and served us well. And I have and will continue to interact with collective bargaining unit leaders as well as the college writ large on pushing this information out from our 2019 report and some of the analysis of whether and if we are maintaining the campus safety level that we all hope and want. I would also note that we're at the end of a semester, and the college will be closed a week from this Thursday. This ordinarily brings us to a time where students and faculty and staff and certainly presidents get a little bit frayed. And I think it's probably the worst it's ever been because of the things I've just mentioned. And I'm asking you all, my colleagues, to hang in there. We've got a short distance before we all are going to be enjoying a really, really well-deserved opportunity to take a long, deep breath. We've got some hard work to do between now and the end of next week, but we're going to make it. And I'm asking you to pull together, help each other, and help your students, because I do see a brighter 2022. And I don't say that just out of hope. I say it because we've done so much already. We've accomplished so much. And one of the ways that we've accomplished so much is to come together as a team. And the way we come together as a team is we appreciate each other and support each other and celebrate the things that we still really do enjoy with each other. In a minute, I'm going to sit back and really relish the opportunity to hear teammates talk about where we want to go as a college, focusing on student success. But one of the other really simple pleasures of doing this job is to say happy birthday. And there's really no good transition from the first two topics to something like that. But we have to transition. And, well, I won't say ages. I will say there are two members of this board who have added one more number to that. And so as a college, after this board meeting, I will say, Mr. Chairman, happy birthday. And we have a little gift for you to wear HFC garb very proudly. And former Madam Chair, I will say the same thing to you. I hope you both had wonderful birthdays over the last week. And I know you've been dealing with a lot of struggles yourself, leading two institutions in a tough time. And the break that's coming your way, I know will be well deserved for you also. There's another break for someone who I really don't want to talk about because it's a colleague who's retiring. But it is something that we should celebrate, and we can. We can talk about difficult things, but also celebrate milestones. And, I thought about this, Susan, to let you hide back there or make you stand up while I talk about you.
No, make her stand up.
And hold your applause because this is going to take a few minutes. So, Dr. Schunkweiler, why don't you stand up so we can look at you while we talk about you. It is, again, it's bittersweet for me to talk about you because it'll be talking about you no longer being the Dean of Health and Human Services and being an employee of the college, at least full-time employee. But I also am so proud of you for what you have behind you, which is a record of extraordinary service to your community, reverence for education, and being a heck of a good teammate. So let me talk a little bit about that. Perhaps the most important thing that I watched you do in my short tenure was to play a pivotal role as this college tried to figure out how to go through a pandemic, giving both of your knowledge in health and your ability to lead through difficult questions and making hard decisions and there's few people in this room that know this more than I do, that when you're making a decision where it's a bad choice or a slightly less bad choice, it never really feels good. But you're one of the people that I know that can do that. And I'm not surprised you can do that because you came to us first as a student at HFC. Probably where you started to learn some of those skills I just mentioned. I won't say how long ago that was, but I will say that you've been a registered nurse. Now, I don't need to tell you this, but I think my colleagues on the board and your colleagues and teammates out there will be impressed by. I know I was and am. You've been a nurse for 40 years.
Okay, that gives us some gauge.
You've been a certified nurse midwife for more than 20 years. And as I mentioned, you are what I hope that I can say about my children, that they loved and continued to try to gain education and knowledge. You got an associate's degree at HFC, Now, there's some other degrees I won't talk about, though. The truth is, you continued your education, which was a Bachelor's of Science in Nursing at Eastern Michigan University, a master's degree from a school that's playing in the college football playoffs. That's University of Michigan. And of course, you recently obtained your doctorate of nursing practice from Monada University. And I remember my first day of the college when I had a list of all these people that I was going to identify for doctorate, or actually there weren't very many doctorates, you were probably the only one, but tenure and joining the team. And I remember saying, congratulations, I think I butchered your name, but man, I saw you shoot up, and man, you were still so excited and proud to be part of HFC. And you know, I still have that image in my mind. And it's not surprising because you've got an extraordinary career behind you here at HFC. You were the first certified nurse, credentialed nurse midwife at Beaumont Oakwood Hospital. You worked there for 26 years. In 2004, we were blessed to have you here at HFC as a faculty member. And then, like so many tortured souls like mine, you decided you wanted to be an administrator. When I'm glad you did in 2013 as associate dean. And then in 2017, you became the first dean of the School of HHS, where you built a relationship and a bond of trust with Vice President Michael Nealon. And you didn't just sit around. You saw that the nursing degrees or nursing pass rates were too low. I think I read 68% when you started as an administrator, and you moved them to 93% as a result of your leadership and your knowledge of what those nurses needed to learn, to pass, and be successful. You established the respiratory laboratory, and you established the surgical technology operating room. And as I was looking through that, your colleague and my friend, Kiambra Pearson, popped in my head because there's a picture in the conference room up there of that surgical technology laboratory in the cabinet conference room upstairs, where the governor of Michigan is standing over a mannequin, and you've got students there, and Kiambra Pearson's right behind you, and you guys are celebrating this wonderful laboratory. And it's so compelling that I've had people ask me, well, why is Whitmer in an operating room? And it's a wonderful story piece. That's why it's on the wall. No, this is what we teach. And that's some of what you have helped accomplish here. It's not surprising that you won the Women's Recognition Award twice here at Henry Ford College. But I know that you have other interests, including your family, and I respect that sometimes has to supersede your interest at HFC. In fact, because we're almost neighbors, I wonder how many times I'll jog by your house and see you. But I also see your husband, Chuck, of 37 years. I haven't seen many of them, but I know they exist. Your children, David, Sean, Casey, and Chris. I think your husband, Chuck, David, and Sean are the smartest. They're the ones with associate degrees from HFC. And I bring that up because, like all of HFC alums and employees, we do sell ourselves out there, and having your children attend is a great honor. I understand you're thinking about coming back to the classroom, and we'd welcome you to do that. And maybe volunteer. I would encourage you to consider teaching rather than volunteering, because that would be fantastic for us. I see your colleague next to you, Cindy Scheuer, shaking her head up and down, or nodding her head up and down. 2 more points, and then I'll let you sit down. One is from one of your teammates, Dr. Nealon. He told me and us that he'll be forever grateful for your vision and leadership that you brought to your role as the inaugural dean of the School of HHS. And I'll just say to you personally, as a new president, I was looking for people that I could trust and who worked hard and who put the mission above their own ego. And you were one of those people. So it's sad for me to see you go. But again, as a neighbor and a colleague, I'm proud of you. You have a wonderful career behind you that you should be proud of. And I wish you the best, and I hope to see you in the classroom soon. And this is why this president's items went so long. Really, really important things to talk about. Wonderful, difficult, terrible, beautiful things. And I appreciate you for being part of it. You can sit down now. And Mr. Secretary and Mr. President, I do apologize for going long. I thank you. I'll take any questions.
Any questions at this time?
Just a quick
Trustee Moser.
question, when is the vigil for Ms. Hester?
I believe it's 5:30 on Friday,
5:30?
and
Welcome Center, is that right?
no, it'll be outside.
Okay.
And I believe it'll be, well, I don't want to say where I believe it'll be.
No, but we'll find out. I just
Okay.
wanted to know the
Details to
time
come.
so I
Yes.
can have it on my schedule. Thank you.
Any other questions for President Cavaluna? All right, thank you. Next item?
Next item, discussion items, strategic plan 2022 to 2024, board report 4617, President Cavaluna.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Before I start, I want to ask my teammates from the strategic planning team to come up, and I will tell you, it's not every day these folks get ready to present to a board, so we did a practice session. So come on up, go into your stage places. This is really important to me, trustees. The first thing I want you to see before we even start talking about this is I want you to see the teammates who took part. Come on, you guys have to all come up here. The teammates who helped and really did do the work of the strategic planning. And I want to tell you that for the last 9 weeks, this team has been working tirelessly, 4 hours a week, trying to answer this board's clarion call for a strategic plan that is precise, that is focused on student success, and that has deliverable metrics for which we outline our goals. And it is really exciting for me to see what they have produced. And it wasn't just them that did the work. They asked their colleagues for feedback. They took surveys. They did a forum to the entire college, recorded it, and it is now publicly available. And what they have delivered to you all is a unanimous recommendation from employees and a student served on this committee also that speaks to where we want to go. And that can be our document to hold up. And we talked about this. If we see each other or see students in the grocery store, or if we talk, why is HFC so great? This document in one page with the people that you see on this list, we can now start to answer that, where we're trying to go and where we're going to go. I could go on, but the truth is, what I want you to do is hear from these folks who did the work, who drafted the plan. And it is my hope that after you see this plan and ask us questions, we'll be back. We won't have to do all the stagecraft in January, but we'll be back in January with hopes that you'll ratify this plan through a board vote. So I'll stop there. I will simply ask, because this team is such an excellent group of communicators, that you hold your questions until we are complete, and then they're ready and willing to take any questions. I know you don't need an introduction, but you see my friend, my teammate, and one of the drafters of the 4 drafters on the drafters committee, Dr. Michael Nealon.
Thank you, President Cavaluna, and good evening, Chair Thorpe, members of the Board of Trustees. Henry Ford College's mission boldly states, our success is measured by the success of our students. In living our mission, we have purposely set student success at the very heart and center of this proposed strategic plan for 2022 through 2024. You will hear throughout this brief presentation that our commitment to radically improving student success at Henry Ford College is not only student-centered and evidence-based, but that it is an imperative for the continued growth and vitality of our learning community. With student success as our North Star, the proposed plan will focus on 4 strategic priorities: access, retention, completion, and transfer. These are not arbitrary, but correspond to the continuum of the student experience itself, the student's journey from admission to the college, through success in gateway courses, progress along a program pathway, completion of a college credential, and onward to future success in advanced study or career. Our efforts will be encompassed within an orbit that advances, promotes, nurtures, and sustains a culture and commitment to belonging, inclusion, diversity, and equity. Taken together, these will serve as the strategic and cultural foundation for our work to improve student success here at Henry Ford College. And now I'd like to introduce my friends and colleagues, Shay James Boyd and Chardon Claiborne, who will take a deeper dive into Strategic Priority 1, Access.
Members of the Board of Trustees, my name is Chardon Claiborne. I'm the Faculty Director of the Learning Lab. I also serve as Internal Vice President for the Full-Time Faculty Union Local 1650. With Strategic Priority Number 1, we seek to address opportunity gaps and build on the community college mission to provide opportunity and upward social mobility for all through higher education. To achieve success, one must first have opportunity and preparation. Strategic Priority Number 1, Access. HFC will increase enrollment and improve college readiness, especially for underrepresented and historically underserved student populations. To expound on Strategic Priority Number 1, I am pleased to present my colleague, Shay James Boyd.
Good evening. As he mentioned, I am Shay James Boyd. I know the House has already been addressed. I serve as the Assistant Director of Advancement for the Henry Ford College Foundation, and it is my pleasure to be here with you this evening and to share this information. As Chardon mentioned, the strategic priority for access, I'm going to read Access Goal 1, and it is to increase enrollment of Black African American students by 25% and double the enrollment of Hispanic students within 2 years. As a strategic planning team, we really felt it was necessary to look at these two demographics because of our proximity to the city of Detroit as well as Southwest Detroit. And when you look at college-ready students or students in general who reside in those populations, they're low-hanging fruit. So really, as a college, what we really needed to just step back and do is just say, ask some questions. And so in this next slide, before we ask those questions, in this next slide here, I'm going to share with you some of the things that kind of popped out and kind of stood out to us as a group. Between fall of 2016 and fall of 2020, we were losing some of our African American students. When you look at the second line there, you can see we've lost about 900 students in between that time period. And when you look at our Hispanic students, we've kind of remained stagnant in that area. We didn't gain any, we didn't necessarily lose any. That stood out to us, so it caused us to have to stop and just say, okay, why? These students are a stone's throw away. They're right in our backyard. So for our African American students, why are they coming but then choosing to leave and go elsewhere? And for our Hispanic students, why are they not selecting HFC as their college of choice? And what we say here at Henry Ford, and I love the motto that we're our students' first choice and we're their best choice. Well, really, when we look at these demographics, it really should be their only choice, is that they're coming right here to get their education. So when we look at Access Goal 2, at Henry Ford, we really have a unique and great opportunity just by who we are. Just proud to represent Henry Ford and what we do as an institution. We have programs that provide our students with a good living wage. So we have opportunity to really make a difference in the quality of lives for our students who choose to enroll here but are underrepresented in specific priorities. I'm sorry, not priorities, but programs. Now, when we talk about underrepresentation, we're not just talking about race and ethnicity. We're also talking about gender, and we're talking about age, and a host of other factors. However, we're just kind of going to stay in that realm of race and ethnicity for a moment. And so the access for Goal 2 is, I should say the statement reads, to increase enrollment of underrepresented student populations in programs leading to high opportunity outcomes, especially in STEAM, health sciences, and the skilled trades. Now, when we look at this particular slide, we're looking at our HSC information here. And you can clearly see, not just from Black and Hispanic, but you can clearly see right down that first column, the students who are enrolling in our programs, for instance, as pre-engineering and biology and so forth. And when you look at the very bottom, the total enrollment, you can see the numbers of students who have enrolled in those programs. And you see the percentages there, kind of just who's enrolling where. And so that's not necessarily a problem. That's, again, that's opportunity for Henry Ford College to really invite students to look at other career opportunities. We have some work we need to do, and we're recognizing that here. And if you look at our website, you read our alumni stories and our student success stories, that makes us so proud of what it is that we do. And it's our students that really inspire us, but it's really the data that we're going to share with you and are sharing with you that's really going to drive our strategic plan forward. So with that, I'm going to introduce Kiambra and Pam, and they're going to talk to you about priority number 2.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Kiambra Pearson, and I am the Associate Dean for the School of Business, Entrepreneurship, and Professional Development. I am going to introduce Strategic Priority 2, which is student retention. HFC, or at Henry Ford College, we will achieve improved and equitable retention rates for all students through proactive, student-focused supports and intervention programs. To help us achieve this, we've identified 2 goals to accompany this strategic priority, and you'll hear more about those 2 goals from my colleague, Pam.
Thank you. I'm Pam Aui. I teach as an adjunct faculty member in the School of Health and Human Services. So for this priority, we've identified the 2 goals that we believe will improve retention rates, which are defined as the percentage of first-time, first-year students at a college who continue their active enrollment at the same institution the following year. So goal number 1 is to increase the percentage of first-time, full-time students who earn more than 24 credits during their first year, from 52% to 60%, and to increase the rate of part-time students who earn 15 or more credits in their first year from 10% to 25%. We know that the longer it takes for students to earn the credits that they need for a credential or a degree, the less likely it is that they will actually reach that goal, especially within the IPEDS timeline by which our public graduation rates are calculated. This just emphasizes that where we are right now, our full-time students, by definition, must take 12 credits or more. Yet, on average, only 52% of them are able to complete that 42 or that 24 plus, a little over 24 in 1 year, in a single school year. And the part-time students fare even more poorly on this. Only about 10% are able to complete 15 or more credits in a single year. What's important about this is that we're not telling students to take more classes. By definition, full-time students are already taking a full-time load. What we are finding is that they need to be able to pass these classes, and that's where this data comes from. So that brings us to goal number 2, which is decreasing the percentage of Ds, Es, withdraws, and incompletes in college-level gateway courses by 15% across all student populations. Gateway courses are the first college-level classes that students take, generally the 131 level courses. The DEWI term refers to the grades that they get at the end of the semester, which we're all working on right now, that keep them from being able to go on to the next course in that series or completing a transferable set of credits. Now what this, here we go. Here is a data slide that shows us a sample gateway course and the distribution of non-passing grades, the D's, E's, withdraws, and incompletes. So by the way, withdraw is when a student chooses to formally withdraw from the class. Not all students do that. We know that sometimes they just disappear. But withdrawing is where a student chooses that. So what we're seeing is that between 25% and a third of students who enroll in this course are not successfully passing it. What this snapshot doesn't tell us, though, is what circumstances contribute to this. What factored into these non-passing grades? Are there support structures that might have kept more of these students on board and able to pass? Those are the questions that we look for in the future. This goal is focused on looking at what are the institutional structures that may be available. And it's also important to clarify that this is not about targeting teacher grading practices or reducing the standards for our classes. It's really identifying and improving the institution-wide support services that will help students stay on board and stay connected and stay successful so that they earn the credential that they came to us to earn. Thank you. I'd like to turn it over to my colleague Hala Al-Siagi.
Good evening. My name is Hala Al-Siagi. I'm the assistant to the Associate Dean in the School of Health and Human Services, and I will be introducing completion as the third strategic priority. Okay. In this priority, HFC will increase credential attainment and close completion equity gaps across all student populations. Okay. The first goal is to increase the total number of certificates and degrees awarded by 20% over 2 years while raising the institutional graduation rate towards 15%. Completion is the best metric for measuring student success because it is the best predictor of job and life outcomes. As the data on this slide shows, annual income increases as credential attainment increases. Those who hold a bachelor's degree earn 3.5 times more annually than those with less than a high school diploma. Conversely, unemployment decreases as credential attainment increases. Those with a bachelor's degree are 5 times less likely to be unemployed as those with less than a high school diploma. This data in this chart shows HFC graduation rates since 2015, which are low in comparison to our neighboring institutions that are similar in size, and it's also the lowest in the state of Michigan. The other neighboring institutions are averaging between 15% and 20%. The second goal is to reduce time to credential attainment while decreasing the overall number of excess credits student complete by 20%. In fall 2021, there were 934 active students with enough credits to have earned an associate's degree, but had not earned a credential. The question we must ask ourselves is whether we are doing a disservice to these students as they are accumulating excess credits and most likely excessive debt without a credential to show for it. And that's all I have. I now hand it over to Dr. Wanda Chukwu to introduce the fourth strategic priority to you.
Thank you, Hala. Good evening, everyone. Today I'll talk about strategic priority number 4, transfer. HFC will achieve improved equitable results for all students regarding successful and seamless transfer to either advanced, study, or career. Of the nearly 3,000 new students who applied to and enrolled at HFC in the academic year, of 2020 and 2021, 57%, more than half of them, indicated a primary intention to transfer to another college or university. Of those students intending to transfer, 3 out of 4 plan first to complete a certificate or a degree at HFC before transferring. Unfortunately, far few students achieve that goal, only 35% in 2020 and 2021. I'd like to share with you a personal story. For me, I'm that student standing on that bridge. I attended 2 different community colleges before actually obtaining a degree. I'm an early college student. I was smart. I graduated from high school at age 16. So I had the skills and knowledge, but needed additional support. And it was really challenging just to kind of navigate through. I'm shy in character, so I wouldn't have went to the admissions office and asked for additional support in that way. Being a first-generation college student, I didn't have anyone at home to actually go to and ask those additional questions. So I asked the board to actually focus on transfer student success, to be able to help us at HFC commit to serving our students at HFC. Thank you. So next I'll have Hassan actually add a little bit more to transfer as well. Hassan.
Hello, member of board. This is Hassan Namegi. I'm a full-time instructor in pre-engineering. I'm also the chair of pre-engineering department at Henry Ford College. It's my pleasure to be here. So the first goal that we're going to talk about is increase the number of transfers to 4-year colleges and university within 3 years, starting at Henry Ford by 20%. So now let me talk a little bit about our transfer. So as you can see in this graphic, actually I took a course in GIS, so that helped me to create this graph. As you can see, there are there are green circles and there are red circles. So I call them green zone and red zone. So green zone talking about transfer to a 4-year university. We have great 3 partners, University of Michigan Dearborn, Wayne State University, and Eastern Michigan University. Thousands of students transferred there over the past 4 academic years, with a GPA of 3.0 or higher, transferring 54 to 69 credits. So again, completely perfect, either, right? 60 is our associate degree. So in the other hand, you can see red circles. So what are those students? Another 1,000 students transferred to one of our neighboring community college. With how many credits? With the GPA 2.0, credits about 20 credits. So it's all go hand in hand. It just rhymes with Wanda's story. Navigating between community colleges, not earning a degree, not retaining. Again, some students, they have the persistence like Wanda to go ahead with that, but statistically talking, not too many of them, they go through this circle. Thank you. With this, I hand it to Dr. Neelan.
Thank you, Hassan. You'll recall from Wanda's remarks that the vast majority of students who intend to transfer initially plan to do so after first having successfully completed their credential from Henry Ford College, but that only 35% of those students actually realize that goal. So the second goal related to our strategic priority on transfer states that we want to increase the percentage of students completing an associate degree or other credential at Henry Ford College before transferring to another 4-year college or university from that 35% to 45%. There are numerous advantages and benefits for students completing an associate's degree before transfer. One, it saves money. At least 60 credits, half of a bachelor's degree, can be completed at HFC and at HFC prices. It saves students time. A focus on a transfer pathway reduces the chance of students taking excess credits or unnecessary courses. All Associate of Art and Associate of Science degrees at Henry Ford College have the Michigan Transfer Agreement embedded within them. eliminating the need to complete any additional general education requirements at a four-year college or university in Michigan. Students will be able to fall back on a college credential in hand if the bachelor's degree is not achieved. And many four-year institutions incentivize transfer with an associate degree with additional scholarship funding. Community colleges are likely the most significant drivers of achieving more equitable college attainment in America today. As open access institutions with affordable, in some cases even free tuition, colleges like HFC provide the best on-ramp to a bachelor's degree, especially for low-income and historically underrepresented student populations. And now I'm pleased to introduce Dr. Eric Rader, a friend of mine who teaches in political science, who will offer some closing thoughts on next steps in our ongoing and collaborative work to improve student success at Henry Ford College.
Thank you, Dr. Nealon, and members of the board. I also serve as the external vice president for Local 1650. I will conclude the presentation tonight by talking about a few next steps. Your charge to us was to create a focused strategic plan for Henry Ford College for your consideration and approval. We feel confident in the plan that we've presented to you tonight. These are achievable goals in this two-year time frame. If approved, we have considered our next steps in achieving the goals set forth in this plan. Over the past 2 months, the Institutional Research Office has provided us with solid data, which you saw in the presentation, about where we are right now so we can know where we need to improve and move the needle on some of the key areas for student success. Now, we plan to do a deeper dive into the data. IR and our departments around campus have an incredible amount of information that can guide us as we continue our work. Once we have more detailed data to inform us, we'll be working with academic departments, student affairs, and other offices on projects to move the needle and begin to make progress in meeting the goals we've set. Our colleagues on campus are very excited about this work and have great ideas for collaborative projects. This plan and our progress on it will be posted on the HFC website. We will create a dashboard to chart our progress. There will be both internal and external sites so that our work is transparent. We'll continue to hold ourselves accountable. As someone who is a first-generation college student, like my friend Wanda, who's back here somewhere, there you are. It's hard to see where everybody is. And she tells a wonderful story, as you heard. I'm excited about this plan. My parents always encouraged me in my education, even though they had not gone to college and knew I could succeed. When I was an undergrad at EMU, one of our transfer institutions, one of our big ones that we transferred to, I had an important faculty mentor who could see something in me that I couldn't always see in myself. This guidance and the support of advisors, counselors, faculty, and many others helped me to graduate with a bachelor's degree in political science, then move on to grad school at Wayne State, one of our other schools that we feed into, and my career in higher education, and I've been here for 17 years and teaching for over 20. My own undergraduate experience showed me that students can succeed when they have a lot of support and guidance from people at their institution. We are already doing great work with our students here at HFC, and this plan provides a blueprint to ramp up our efforts to help them succeed. We're excited to present this strategic plan to you and appreciate your careful consideration of what we've shared tonight. Thank you.
Questions for the committee? Trustee Petlicoff.
Well, mine is not as much a question as an observation. I did watch the 1 hour and 54-minute forum. Just to let you know, you could shave off a few of those minutes with the introductions in the beginning and the end. I had a lot of this detail already in my mind. I also have to acknowledge that Dr. Schunkweiler, and it's not surprising, asked a question that I would have asked in regards to a dashboard scenario. But to expand upon that, we know that the strategic plan, and I heard a lot of you mention throughout the forum, you know, you didn't want to get into the weeds. We have a tendency to say, okay, we've got this goal. how are we going to accomplish this kind of thing? And that's not what the strategic plan is about. It's about setting forth the vision and the trajectory, and now we are going to get into the devil of the details moving forward. That being said, I've been on the board, this is my third term. I'm going into 12 years now, and I've seen strategic plans come and go, both for the P12 and for the college. And I have a feeling that the best benefit we will get out of this, because this is generic enough to engage everybody on our campus in a variety of ways in strategies to contribute to our student success plan. But we need to keep reminding everybody at every decision-making level, every time they're going to do anything, how does it reach one of these goals? Where is this going to help us achieve this? And it has to be there every day in every way. Every time anybody is getting together with anybody, are we honoring the strategic plan to move us forward? I was really, quite frankly, surprised that we had other community colleges around us doing better. They're not doing great, but they're doing better with their graduation rates. And I know we've improved in the last few years, but we still haven't reached that level that we really should have. And we really need to understand why. And we need to make sure that student success has a definition and a meaningful end point. And it's not just about numbers. So I don't want this to all be just about data as much as I want it to be that students come here because they see that it has meaning to them and that they walk away. And we have to give that message the utmost importance and highlight it on every student's achievability rating. So that's all I have to say, but good job at keeping this a manageable document. I appreciate that.
Trustee McDonald?
I just want to say this is exactly what I had in mind, and I'm glad you took the direction of the board the way that you did. As Trustee Peshlikov said, it's a working document. You can look at it, you can live it, you know what it is. It's not going to sit on a shelf and say, oh, we've done that, we don't have to think about it again for 5 years. You do need to let that be your guiding light. And you can, because the way it's designed, the way it's set up, even if you don't have it in front of you, you have it in your head because it's simple enough to maintain it in your head. I too watched the video, and I was very pleased with what Pam said and some other folks said, that you can see how this particular piece will fit with your day-to-day work. And that's what we need to do to make this achievable and make it actually mean success for our students. See which pieces fit with your day-to-day work, and that will guide you, and that will make our students successful, and that will make this strategic plan as beneficial as I know that it can be. So thank you very much for your hard work, and I'm very pleased.
Trustee Watts?
Yes, I wanted to say thank you, and I think many of you had mentioned that your experiences were as a first-generation college student, and I had mentioned it before, I was as well, and it wasn't the easiest road, and it was hard to navigate it when I didn't have parents that we could speak to, and the other students around me seemed like they were succeeding and excelling, and I was just kind of floundering. So one of the questions I had, and I know that you guys won't be able to answer, and I think I've asked it before, is if we know the percentage of students that are first generation college students. And the other thing is, part of it is too, is the component of mental health, because I'm hearing from college students who are very successful from across the country who are saying that last year was really hard and they had a lot of depression. So taking that in and going forward, having the strategic plan as our guiding document but also saying what has happened to the student to have them maybe not be successful in the classroom. And I think, again, having those in the back of our minds, I think we'll definitely be able to be true to all of our students. But thank you for putting this together and the time that you guys spent in this, because I think it's going to be extremely helpful for our students. They're going to be able to see the benefits of this. Thank you.
Trustee Moser.
Thank you, Chair Thorpe. I also would like to join my colleagues in thanking each one of you for contributing your time and effort into this very important document that's going to be our light into the next 2 years, our guide. So I struggled a little bit to understand why, when Hassan, when you showed your slide and seeing that we do lose students to nearby community colleges. And I hope that, through this strategic planning sessions, that unfortunately, due to my work situation, I was not able to join any of them. But I'm planning to watch the video and hopefully get my answers as far as why is this happening? Why are we losing students who sometimes are actually inside our district going to others? And I do sense some of those questions. I've talked to some students who have actually done that. And most of the time is the easy route. Oh, Henry Ford is probably more rigorous. I actually feel good when or at least I would like, okay, that's better that you're going there for a reason. But when I hear sometimes, and I share this with President Cavalluna when he arrived, the process is just too difficult. Financial aid will take so much time for me to get here. At this community college, it's 1, 2, 3, and I'm in. And I hope through this plan that we find ways of making everything seamless for the students, so the only thing that they do focus on most of their time here is their academic success. Not worrying about if financial aid is going to cover or not. Obviously, they still have to do all of their obligations and do the filing of the application, but not to wait for a long time to receive an answer. So, and I do recognize that the college has been moving through that route and recognizing that those are issues where it turns off students and let them go out, because we are literally in a free market. And sometimes I just can't fathom how they can go to a college that is offering less quality work for higher pay, for higher tuition. I can't really understand, but I would love to learn more on that part. And once again, thank you for focusing on the segments of our student population, such as the African American students as well as the Hispanic American students. I know in our ad hoc committee, this was a topic of discussion as well. And I am really pleased to see this coming through. I don't know if that was taken from there or that discussion kind of was revamped again, but it is, both segments are very important segments for us. They make up a good portion of our population right now, and we would like to expand on that. And the more diverse this college is, the better that it will be, and the strongest that it will be. So those were my comments. I'm really excited. I'm glad that it's 2-page that I can read. I've seen strategic planning documents that are long. Only thing long that I see still here, and now organizations have modernized their mission statements to be very short. But I do see it here that we kept it long. So I'd like to probably get some kind of answer why this was kept to this to be very, very long, kind of 7 sentences here, or 4 sentences that I see on the mission statement. Thank you. We didn't. This was unchanged, so that's what I'm saying.
So I can answer that, Trustee Moser. And I was grateful to have folks like Dr. Eric Rader to give us the history of this. Mr. Thomas is correct in his concise answer. we actually started a very beginning of the debate on the mission statement, and we quickly stopped it for a couple reasons. One, Dr. Rader explained some of the history of it. That is, it was a difficult thing to come to, and there was a lot of struggle to come to it. Second, we felt confident that the plan that we were hoping to accomplish would not contravene anything in the mission statement, so that we were worried that if we went into the work of the mission statement, it would possibly derail the process that we wanted to accomplish for you all, which was a concise plan that gave student success focused goals on one page. And I feel confident that if we would have gotten into the mission statement for debating whether it should be changed or not, and then if yes, then how we would change it, we probably would not be here right now. But the good thing about the 2-year plan is that it, by definition, must be updated probably within 18 months.
Right.
And of course, if the board wants us to revisit the mission statement, that is certainly something we can do.
I think it's overdue. Thank you.
Trustee Barry, did you have any questions or comments?
Questions from my colleagues. I'm very thankful for all the work by the committee. It takes a lot of time, so that's all I have.
I'd also like to thank everybody who served on the committee. It was a fair amount of time, very tightly packed, and you were able to get a lot of things done in a very thorough manner. When I look at this, it reminds me of something that I've thought for years, which is thank God for deadlines, because without them, we're not getting anything done. And this is a short deadline. Is it enough time to reach some of the goals? President Kevlin, I don't know if you'd want to answer or have anyone else answer that.
Yeah, I can answer that. We believe so. But we had a crossroads. We could have pushed it out to 3 years or 4 years, but we sensed what you just said was true. The deadline will drive urgency. And every student who's suffering because we're not meeting those goals is a student that, by pushing out the deadline, would be ill-serving. So we are going to work like crazy to meet every one of those goals if you ratify this plan. And if we don't meet them, then we're going to explain why we didn't meet them and keep going, or change them.
Great. Any more questions or comments? Thank you all for the work that you've done. We appreciate it. Next item, please.
Next item is citizen participation. Citizens wishing to address the board on agenda and non-agenda items who have submitted a blue card to the secretary may speak at this time. The board might not be in a position to respond to non-agenda items. Therefore, speakers should not anticipate an immediate response to their questions or comments. For the benefit of all concerned, do not mention the names of students or college employees. Please limit the comments to 3 minutes. We do have one blue card, and I don't have a name, but it says Mr. Jeff Morton. Then he is representing Local 1650. He is the incoming internal vice president, and he would like to address the board on college COVID response.
Hello, as you heard, my name is Jeff Morford. I'm a math instructor, and in January I'll be Local 1650's internal vice president. I've been here teaching here since 1999, or as I like to say, for 2 millennia. And since I'll be really brief on my other remarks, I do want to mention with regard to the plan, people tell me I can sometimes show some cynicism, but when I look at a plan like this, I ask, can it help you make a decision about how to spend your own time or how to spend college resources? And I absolutely think this plan could help me make those kind of decisions. If I had to choose between 2 projects in the math department, I think we could compare it to this plan and pick the one that's going to make the biggest difference. So I'm very thankful to all of you, both for creating the plan and for volunteering, so I didn't have to serve on the committee. But that's enough agreeability. So first, I'd like to thank President Kavalhuna Russ for listening to and reacting to teacher comments in a meeting earlier this month. And second, I want to acknowledge that the community, our employees, and the board have a common interest in maintaining enrollment and accessible student services. I know this. Nonetheless, I think a lot of the challenges that we have with our COVID response are due to short-term patches, not by not following the Center for Disease Control guidelines for institutions of higher education. I hear that if we were to put some stricter guidelines in place, it might cause some students not to come. But I think there's other students who would come if we had a vaccine mandate with testing for those who could not or comply with it, or chose not to get vaccinated. And I know that there would be teachers who would be much more enthusiastic about returning to the campus if they knew that everyone was vaccinated or tested. Failing that, the Center for Disease Control also says that if you don't want to have a vaccine mandate, then you can spread things out more, reduce class sizes in the short term, and that would also help to address that. Going a little bit perhaps more down a more depressing road, if the enrollment argument doesn't convince you, there is a human cost, and I don't know, perhaps a liability cost if we don't take these steps and it leads to an unnecessary death of a student or a teacher. I know that we can't be totally safe in the environment today. We've got to do our work. But I would like to think that the college would accept the best scientific guidance to make all of us, students, employees, and teachers, all feel safer, and I thank you for listening.
Thank you, Mr. Morford. Next item.
Next item is special consideration of an action item. Are there any actions on this agenda which board members or the president wish to discuss and vote on separately? If there are, we will exclude these from the action below. Move to approve action items 1 through 7 as recommended in this agenda.
So moved?
Support.
We have a motion by trustee McDonald, supported by trustee Petlicoff. Are there any questions on any of the action items or any item that needs to be pulled? That anyone would like pulled? All right. Hearing none, could we please have a roll call vote?
Trustee Barry?
Yes.
Trustee D'Ambrosio?
Yes.
Trustee McDonald?
Yes.
Trustee Mazup, yes. Trustee Petlicoff?
Yes.
Trustee Watts?
Yes.
Chair Thorpe?
Yes. Motion carries.
Next item is Board of Trustees business, acknowledgement of correspondence.
I don't think there was any.
Next item is Board Committee reports.
The foundation had a meeting last Thursday. Was it already last Thursday? It was. It was their year-end meeting. It's been a year where they were just talking again about what they've been doing with scholarships, some different grants that have been going on, some opportunities. So, and they are getting ready to start moving forward with the what's it called, President Cavaluna?
The capital campaign.
All right, I was going to be pretty close to it. I want to make sure I got the wording right. Thank you. Which will be formally starting in 2022, right? Okay. Any other committee reports?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. The policy committee met, and the chair of that committee is Trustee Barry. He asked, for the sake of communication, for me to report out the committee's work, and I will do that now. The committee met just before your meeting today. There were 2 items that the committee evaluated. One was an issue that the full board took a report on last time you met in the December, I should say, last time you met for a regular meeting in the November meeting. That was the administration's proposal to rescind various policies and bylaws. Those were discussed somewhat at your November board meeting, and then the proposed rescissions were circulated to the Board of Trustees. The administration asked for feedback on the proposal at the committee today, and there were no questions or comments at that time. The chair of the committee then took advice on to what would the next steps be, and eventually concluded that the full board would get one more look at this question by looking at the proposed policies and bylaws to be rescinded, and have them as a discussion item on your agenda for January, and if supported, then an action item in February. Can't remember the months anymore. Trustee Bowship. The second item on the policy committee's agenda was an item that was referred to the policy committee at your last full board meeting in November, and that was the question of evaluating and possibly changing the administration's authority for hiring. Since that November full board meeting, I have circulated to the entire board a spreadsheet documenting the ways that the other 7, I believe 8, at least 8, maybe 10 other large community colleges in Michigan handle this question and what authority they give the administration to hire. That was evaluated and discussed at the committee level. The administration outlined reasons to seek a change with the ability for the administration to hire positions between board meetings. Recall that the board currently requires the board to act on all hires for all employees of the staff, with one exception, that being when the president elects to hire someone before board action in the event that not hiring them would inhibit the continuity of an academic program. The administrators in this policy committee outlined that with the tight labor market and with some difficult positions to fill, that the administration is sometimes at a disadvantage to hiring and getting positions filled, but also recognizing that the board would likely want some ability to see fully transparently who was being hired, no matter whose authority it was, and some limitation, not a full switch over to the administration hiring all employee without board involvement like some other community colleges allow. There was discussion about that, and then I asked the 2 trustees who were present if it would be appropriate for the administration to propose a policy that would give some liberty to the administration, although not carte blanche. And Trustee Watts outlined some concerns, and she noted that she'd be open to seeing that proposal, but wanted the proposal to have some safeguards in being able to see the processes that the administration is taking to hire, which Trustee Watts and I discussed is the case now. If any trustee wants to see anything about any hiring, that is available, and possibly limiting it to some job title or salary amount, or so that the policy would give some liberty to the administration, but not, again, unfettered ability. The plan from the chairman was for the administration to propose that proposal and do that at a policy committee at the next meeting, which would be in January. And of course, if such a policy were evaluated and moved forward, the next step would be the full board here no earlier than February. And I believe Trustee Barry, is that a thorough evaluation of what took place?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
And that is a summary of the policy committee.
So we will expect to see some draft language and have a discussion at the next board meeting in January with items then to be voted on in February.
The policy committee will see policy.
Okay.
February would be a discussion,
Yeah.
and then a vote would be taking place in March
Okay.
or further.
But I would say I will follow our convention, that what I give trustees on the policy committee will be circulated to the full board also, so you will see the proposed language. And I see your colleague has a question.
Trustee Moses?
So I know that we're changing seats, so we might change
There will be
people on the
different
policy.
people on the policy.
So there will be different people on the policy comes January.
Yeah, we talked about that, and the chair of the policy committee, Trustee Barry, acknowledged that that may be the case, not knowing if the policy committee will stay at the same population. We of course decided we wouldn't have to repeat it all to the current group if it stays, but if a new group comes, we would explain the history and then move forward as that policy committee deemed necessary.
Historically, we'll usually have one trustee stick with each of the committees for continuity's sake. But President Cavallona, like you were saying, if you're sharing the information with the full board, then we can all be up to speed for that January meeting. Any additional questions on those? Next item.
Board member request for information and/or future agenda items. Did we switch those two things? I don't know. I
No.
think we have board member commentary right after.
Well,
But
I don't
anyway, it's
recall
okay.
either. It's like it's the
Request for
first time for all of us
information.
doing
Yeah.
this.
That's P12.
Any requests for information or future agenda items?
Responding to the citizen participation comment that we had from 1650 representative, or it wasn't 1650,
Yeah, Mr.
1270.
Morford.
Yep. I would like to know, possible a report, could be a presentation as far as in January. How are we, if we are following the CDC guidelines, if we are following Wayne County guidelines, what kind of guidelines are we following? So that could be clear for all of us.
And I know we talked about it in the November meeting that we are continuing to have the Return to Campus Committee meet, correct?
Yes, as that committee deems necessary.
Okay.
And are they including in those meetings and what other surrounding community colleges are doing? We know, we've heard about what the four-year colleges and vaccine mandates appear to be a fairly standard, because they have on-campus living facilities and whatnot. But for the surrounding community colleges, do we have any idea how they are managing?
Yes. Yes. Last week, I convened meetings with collective bargaining unit leaders on the question of how we will evaluate employees working on campus versus working from home. I also was invited to and happy to attend a meeting of the general membership for AFT 1650, where some of these issues were discussed. And the week before that, we held a First Fridays meeting where several of these concerns were addressed. And in each of those meetings, when employees asked about our posture on masks or social distancing or return to work, I have outlined for each of those audiences the extensive research that we have done to compare what institutions around us are doing. I have also clearly identified what citizen-facing institutions in Dearborn, for example, the Dearborn Public Schools, are doing on these questions. So the answer to your question is yes, and I have made that information known to really any employee at HFC and the collective bargaining units who have asked.
Any additional requests for information or agenda items? Trustee Mosip, one thing that you had asked for in November was the report for the diversity, equity, and inclusion,
Yes.
and I believe we were talking about that for January's agenda?
Yes.
Okay.
That is our plan there, and let me contemplate the best way to move forward on Trustee Mosip's request for a what sounds like kind of a plenary review of COVID response.
Okay.
You can also see that I believe it was Vice President DeLong, was it Friday? Friday we sent quite a long message that trustees will have, and it has, actually the message wasn't as long as some of them. We shifted our strategy, making the message a little less long with links, and one of the links was responsive to exactly what you were asking, Trustee Mosip, that other employees had asked me, which was, where can I go to see what the college is doing in response to COVID-19? And in the message that went out Friday that you all have, there is a link that goes to all of these questions.
Okay.
But it's still, I know that employees and trustees may want to know what that is, and so I'm more than happy to oblige one of my team, or maybe even myself, speaking on what we're doing. I will say there was a lot of open discussion and dialogue about the question of CDC guidance and CDC recommendations, and there is not unanimity at Henry Ford College on a couple things, which you all should be aware of. Mandating vaccinations for students, social distancing, and if so, the distance in classrooms. We do seem to have pretty good unanimity on masking, and those other items that Vice President-elect Morford brought up are the ongoing discussions that I've had with the current two vice presidents, both of whom you heard from in the strategic planning team presentation, and the general membership meeting. So I also appreciate Vice President-elect Morford outlining that there were a number of things that we discussed that faculty wanted addressed, and we worked quickly to address them, and I appreciate him mentioning that.
Commentary? Any additional commentary?
Oh, we're already in commentary?
I thought we were in commentary.
We're still in request.
That was
for
what it sounded like
information.
from me.
All right, sorry. Go on.
Okay, then, board member commentary. There it is. I have some.
Trustee Mosip.
One thing that the state legislature, unfortunately, is always throwing rocks at us for some reason. Obviously mandating in-person meetings for public bodies in Michigan, and now they started making exceptions for some boards, like I believe, Farmers Commission, as well as the Retirees Commission, that they can meet virtually. I've spoken to our state representative, Abdullah Hamoud, as well as our state senator, Senator Santana, about this particular item, that it is definitely crippling public bodies like ours in having the opportunity to attend virtually if we are traveling for work, just like Trustee Berry is right now, and or we're ill and we don't want to infect others and we want to stay home, but I still want to be involved and attend this meeting virtually. But unfortunately now the state of Michigan is saying, as of January 1st of next year, you would have to be in person to attend a public body meeting, or as a board member for us. For public, the opinion that we received at the P12, that we cannot take any virtual comments as we used to take them in the past. So that's very unfortunate. I think this is definitely going in the wrong direction as far as being accessible government. I hope that the legislatures will change their mind. I've spoken to also other school board members that I met at the MASB conference, and hopefully that they can talk to their representatives who are definitely introduced this kind of legislation. And it's total politics on their side. So I hope that they would do something prior to this taking effect, and perhaps do a change where it allows board members to attend virtually, and possibly even allowing also public to bring in their input to public bodies. We're still accessible, of course, by email, but we would, at the P12, starting in January, we will not be reading those virtual comments anymore. And I think that is not a good example of being responsive to the residents, and that this is unfortunately putting us in very, very bad situations with the public. But they know who now to target their anger at if they're not happy with this outcome. So the other thing that I would like to mention, and President Kev Luna already expanded on it, is definitely safety on this campus and our schools across the nation after the tragic incident and mass shooting and terrorism that happened at Oxford High School. It was something that this country is still struggling with. I've spoken this at length at the P12, and a Virginia Tech shooting is still in the back of my mind when I was a college student. These shootings might happen at any place, and we have to be prepared. And we should not only be reactionary when it comes to as far as doing drills and doing all of these things, to making sure that in the event of this, God forbid this happens, that we're ready to minimize any loss of life or damages in our campus. So I applaud the administration for taking charge and for being proactive. And definitely the state of Michigan, again, have to really look into the gun laws. And the federal government really needs to look into the Second Amendment and find ways of making sure that guns don't get into the wrong hands as it did at Oxford. The last thing that I want to say is happy holidays. I hope that everybody enjoys the break. It is time definitely to come back and sit with family and take rest, and then come back January for another semester. I'm looking forward to that. Thank you.
Trustee Barry, you got anything?
All good, thank you.
Just making sure you're still paying attention.
I'm here.
All right. Before we get in front of this group again, we're going to play musical chairs. So as we head out of 2021, it has been a very challenging year. We thank you for everything that you do to support the students and your coworkers here at the college. And we look forward to getting a chance to get away and recharge the batteries for a little while and come back ready to go for 2022. Next item.
Next item is future meeting dates. Monday, January 10th, 2022, P12. Policy Committee meeting, 5:30 at the Administrative Service Center. It's actually going to be also on Tuesday, January 18th, or is that for HF? Oh, thank you. Monday, January 10th, 2022, P12 organizational meeting, 6:45 p.m. at the Administrative Services Center in the Frank Franchi Boardroom. Monday, January 10th, 2022, P12 Board of Education meeting, 7 p.m. at the Administrative Service Center in the Frank Franchi Boardroom. Tuesday, January 18th, 2022, HFC Policy Committee, 6 p.m. at the Administrative Service and Conference Center in the Cabinet Conference Room. Tuesday, January 18th, 2022, HFC Board of Trustees meeting, 7 p.m. at the Administrative Services and Conference Center in the Rosenau Board.
And one last time, we're adjourned.